Ready, real.
CIA be lurking, I be in the turban. Little ones stay cursing, older ones out twerking. Talking about lack of education, streets are always dangerous. Bluetooth speakers playing, do you really hear what they saying? Do you know what that mean? Are you down for the team? They speak through signs and symbols, you can learn about these things. Live by 9/11, Club of 27. Once you think that they in heaven, nah bruh, it's a legend. It's all according to the code. Damn Illuminati with my mind, body, and my soul. That's why they snatching bodies, everybody in a Holly Grove. Deception is a hobby, switching roles with the auto clone. We call that an auto hoax.
Man, what you trying to prove? Don't you know we've been around the globe and been to the moon?
Get it, that's an auto hoax.
You're tripping, times two. What about the shootings that they always cover on the news?
Real, that's an auto hoax.
They don't move, we will make the way. Let it spray, right reality like an hey. Let them know we don't play. They live like life's a party, but it's really like a breakaway. Meditate, focus your attention on your better days. You know what I'm talking about. Don't let these slimy narcissists, antichrist out there turn your eye. Freedom of speech is actuality. That's why the truth must spread by word of mouth, It's all according to the code. Damn Illuminati with my mind, body, and my soul. That's why they snatching bodies, everybody in the Holly Grove. Deception is a hobby, switching roles with the auto clone. Let me turn on my auto hoax.
Not even a proven fact. The floor curves into a spinning ball, and you can test for that.
Globe is an auto hoax.
Man, you must be trolling me. Scientific theories aren't what they are shown to be.
Yep, that's an auto hoax.
So what you're saying is you don't accept the claim that's missing proof, then you label it.
Exactly, it's an auto hoax.
Wow, sports is scripted by the number code, but do I really don't? Let me turn on my...
Okay, hey y'all, this Saw Might Fly, Auto Hoax, DJ Ready Rel. If you're over here on Discord, I'm starting a live stream up. So we're on Float, InfinitePlaneRadio.Live. We'll get you there. I'm trying to show you what options that we have. I do think we're streaming in a few places. And I'm integrating all of the chats. So you will see the chats on the screen. That's something that I'm adding. Because one thing that disappoints me about YouTube's termination of channels is they delete the chats. They delete the conversations people are having, which is kind of a bummer. It's like, why would you not let people have real reactions to things or communicate with each other? Why does Big Brother want to react and respond on your behalf? Why do they want to prevent conversations from happening? So we'll see. I'm testing out a few things. I'm going to go ahead and kill Discord. Suzette says buffering. You know, it's D-Live. It's probably buffering. You have other options. You got Twitch, YouTube. I think there's a few other places where you can watch this thing. I'm trying to decide which is the best one to promote. Right now, I'm just saying go to InfinitePlaneRadio.Live. That takes you to Float. And Float is like, well, it's both a replacement for YouTube and also it's something of a replacement for Twitter. I mean, what you miss with YouTube, of course, is, you know, when people invest so much time and energy into it, there's a lot of content. It's all very searchable, but I think that's going to be changing soon. I mean, they did not offer any warnings before they took my channel down. They didn't say, hey, by the way, you crossed the line, here's a strike. There was no strikes. It was just deletion. This account has been terminated for violating YouTube's terms of service. Very vague. So here's what they actually wrote to me. And again, this is a relatively new channel. You know, maybe 1,600 subs in a couple months. 60,000 views on the channel itself. The videos were picking up to where, you know, I had maybe 1,500 subs, but they would get 12 to 1,500 hits a day, well, the first day. So we had a lot of good engagement. And the live streams could go, you know, between all platforms, you know, 150 some on a live stream, which isn't all that high. but considering how new the channel is, because the issue is many of my subscribers over the last 3 years don't know that I'm still around, because that's what YouTube has done, is they effectively break networks so well. And once they've broken your network, it's hard to rebuild it, especially if they're the ones who are essentially intermediating the whole thing. They get rid of this ability for you to unionize, in other words. It's like Walmart wouldn't want their employees to unionize. Well, YouTube doesn't want you to form networks. They want you to go through them for everything. No big deal. It's not like we care. We've been, 68 channels into this thing? It's a fascist corporation. What else is new? What they wrote to me was, it's been brought to our attention. Who's our? Who brought it to your attention? Who are my accusers? It has been brought to our attention that activity in your account, Infinite Plane Society, may violate YouTube's terms of service. After review, we determined that your account is not in compliance, and we have terminated your account accordingly. Please be aware, you are prohibited from accessing, possessing, creating any other YouTube accounts. For more information about terminations and how they're enforced, please visit our help center. And it says, if you'd like to appeal, please submit this form. I click the form and I can't even log in because my account's been terminated. It's like, if you'd like to appeal, come to our complaints department. You go to the complaints department, it's a locked door. Or it's a grenade. Complaints department, take a number, and the number's attached to the pin on the grenade. Like, it's just a very sarcastic thing to say, yeah, if you want to appeal it, submit this form. You push the form, and it's like, you've been kicked out. But again, we have plans. So they decided it was perfectly fine to burn our books, burn those conversations. 60 videos in 2 months, and each video had a conversation and discourse below. People were commenting, whether they agreed or not. People were meeting each other and communicating. But again, you can just go to InfinitePlaneRadio.com or .live. You won't miss anything. And the network just has to expand. We just can't allow YouTube to curate our conversations anymore. And that's what they're doing. So one thing I've started just recently, and I'm going to maintain this because I think that one of the most valuable things to have come out of this entire destruction of what was once a really good thing. One of the things that's, I think, pretty clear here is that the general population is very intelligent. That they're not a bunch of zombies. They're not sheeple. They're not dumbed down. They're not fluoridated and stupefied with vaccines. Like, all the negative things that are said about the common people by the conspiracists out there, the doomsayers, not a lot of it's true. I'm finding quite the opposite. So I'm going through my comments sections on YouTube, and I'm harvesting those. I'm like, you know what? They're going to delete this anyway. They're going to burn this library, so let's go ahead and republish it somewhere else. So I'm taking the comments that I find to be particularly insightful, like this one, Southern Star Trails on Flat Earth Explained, and I'm reposting them as blog posts on InfinitePlaneSociety.com. So I'm not going to let the good content go to waste. I'll harvest what I can. I'm going through my emails to see what comments are worth republishing. These are unwritten books, unpublished books. I mean, look, let's say you have an account and you have a wry sense of humor, and you've made 2,000 comments over the last 3 years. Who's to say that maybe, you've incited so many conversations, you've learned things, maybe you've offended people, maybe you've been offended, but whatever. You have a living journal, diary that you've kept that's been interactive, an interactive journal, like a live microblog. You're microblogging when you're commenting. So you've published a blog. Maybe you're not a blogger. Maybe you're just some regular person who doesn't publish, but maybe you have some interesting ideas and concepts that you might want to publish later that have value. And my point is that there's value in a lot of the stuff that's posted, and they're flippantly deleting it. YouTube brags about having deleted 500 million, that is 500 million comments. How many blogs were deleted? And I'm not saying it's all valuable. I mean, a lot of it is pretty much garbage, but you just look at it in context. There's a massive study of the growth of organic human culture uninhibited by government. What does it look like? What comes out of it? There's so much to observe. And it's, again, the YouTube thing is only a small fraction of the internet, and they're just a blip in the big picture. It's a thing worth observing, though. We're watching the rise and fall of something right now. And so I think it's important to dissect it so that we can all learn from it. What have we learned from this process of allowing basically these corporations to build arguments against free speech and stand by it? And this is what brings me to the petition I just signed. Fire Susan Wojcicki as YouTube CEO. I just signed it. If you haven't signed the petition, I'll put it in the chat for you. Yes, MJ180. Actually, I found out that I was deleted this morning. Man, they are getting some serious support here. Yeah, there's a petition out to fire Susan Wojcicki, the fascist dictator that runs YouTube. And, I've been saying this for a while. She's openly running this thing as a fascist corporation. And it's been signed, it's been supported by a whole lot of people. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of money that people are just chipping in for this thing. Let's take a look and see how much it's grown. This would be her. I'll give you a link. They're hitting me up for donations. I'm not really looking to do that yet. I'm just looking here. Okay, so they have a goal of 150,000 subscribers. 137,000 have signed. And it looks like about one person is signing per second. You can sign more than once. I think you can. It says, since February 2014, Susan has become the CEO of YouTube, which is part of Google. Under her, quote, leadership, things went downhill and caused the reputation of YouTube and Google, from the copyright controversy to the YouTube PR nightmare known as the ad-friendly monetization policy. They have censored free speech. They have demonetized YouTube videos that deal with controversial subjects. Let's move on. It says here, basically the long and short of it, their ad-friendly monetization policy is unfair. It's headed in the wrong direction. It says also YouTube has to employ some common sense rules regarding false flagging YouTube trolls. Maybe a no tolerance policy. So this is good. This is good. This might turn into something if they follow this. The PR nightmare could be fixed if YouTube and Google goes in the right direction with common sense rules and no tolerance policies on YouTube trolls, false flagging, and censoring music. Fascinating. We'll see. Not that these petitions do anything, but it's interesting to see how what it takes to drive people crazy. I mean, they should have had this reaction a year ago. You know how delayed this reaction is? They should have had this reaction delayed when people found out, wait a minute, you mean the flat earth community is being stultified? Searches are being destroyed so that people can't even look at them? What if you're just entertained at laughing at people that you think are ridiculous? You're not allowed to do that anymore? If your entertainment on Friday night was watching flat earthers trying to prove their theory with Google Hangouts, just open panels, and you like listening to this discourse for whatever reason, they actually destroyed that. That alone should have triggered a reaction. MJ1880 says she rented the garage to the founders of Google. She's Google employee number 16. Now that's interesting. See, when I hear the word garage, I think that's just code. It's like a cave or an initiatory grotto. It's probably just a code for maybe a military operation. Who knows? Garage could be an acronym. But no doubt. BD Fire says Michael Rockefeller is really the Disney Hollywood actor Tom Hanks. Kind of a tangent, but let's take a quick look here. I think you got your timelines wrong, but feel free to send me some pictures. Yeah, this is interesting. Again, the public's finally reacting, but it's way too late. Too little, too late. And look, this is something I pointed out right after Vegas. So about the 3rd or the 4th of October, 2017, I'm like, hey, look, those of you who are capitulating to YouTube's rules and you're not talking about the hoaxes anymore because you don't want to get banned, so you're just going to stick to your safe flat earth topic, guess what? They're going to shut you up soon too. Took a year and they did it. So now you can't auto hoax, now you can't flat earth. And I'm like, look, you guys should have revolted when they started banning people calling things hoaxes. You should have stood up for the right for some of us to be wrong. I have the right to be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, but if I am, I have the right to be. But by not standing up on our behalf, and by the scientific mainstreamers not standing up on behalf of the flat, I don't want to say the word, well, flat-hearted community, yeah, you know what? You pretty much set the stage for this. So now they're coming after you, the mainstream-friendly YouTubers. Well, guess what? We saw this coming and we prepared. So, like I said, I don't really care. I think it's just time that we take our value that we create. The content that you create, even your comments, do they deserve your comments? People on principle will stop eating at a certain restaurant or stop listening to a certain celebrity. And I think on principle, I think it's safe to say that YouTube has crossed the line and it's a joke. So, use it, troll it, make your points, upload your videos or whatever, but don't think they're going to stick. They will, look, they had no compunction. Like, let's say they found a video where I said something that was out of control. Why wouldn't they have just deleted that video and given me a strike? Why did they delete all 60? It doesn't make any sense. This wouldn't happen to anybody else. Owen Benjamin's like, I'm afraid they're going to take down my YouTube channel. And he's wearing like this minx coat, gold chains, 277,000 subs, hundreds of dollars of super chat flying through his screen every second. He's opening his mailbox. It's just bursting with handwritten checks and cash. And so he's flowing in money. And he's like, they're going to demonetize me. They're going to stop me. By the way, Jews suck. And he never gets shut down. All day long, he's ripping on Jews. I quote the guy and I say, how does Owen Benjamin get away with saying such and such? And boom, I get deleted. So what I'm saying is, some of these big channels are wrecking balls who are putting the discourse out there that gets monetized, that creates outrage by groups like the ADL who say, wait a minute, you're telling me that if Hitler was alive in 2019 and he was on YouTube, he'd be raking in the super chats? Yes, he would. And that outrage then turns into, problem, reaction, solution. What do we do about it? Demonetize hate speech. And so then you get these agents who are allowed to basically burn it down for the rest of us. Thank you, Owen Benjamin, for burning down YouTube. As though you were making some point about free speech. Thank you, Alex Jones, for burning down YouTube and destroying the reputations and just the public image of people who don't trust CNN. Okay, so I did have a comment I wanted to go over. This was one comment I salvaged from my channel before it was burned down. And this is the point that I'm making. This comment here is brilliant. And if I hadn't preserved it on a blog, we wouldn't have it today. And this could be the key. It says, study star trails at the equator. The globe model accurately states that they only appear to rotate in opposite directions, which is true in reality. It is the only direction we have to face the sky to see the northern stars versus the south that determines whether the stars are moving to the left or the right. Star trails at the equator show they actually all rotate the same direction. The southern star trails being real does not debunk the Earth being a plane. People like Jaron are pushing the disinformation that star trails in the south literally rotate the opposite direction, since they're pretending that the southern stars are the northern stars reflected and refracted on the dome, which, if true, would result in opposite direction rotation. The southern stars are real and distinct constellations from the northern stars. There are time-lapse footage videos of southern stars from years before flat Earth came around, again this time. He follows it up with, the meme of no gas pressure without a container totally connects to the dome theory. And this is another point that I've been making. There's this meme being pushed quite heavily on the YouTube flat Earth debate channels that they say you have to have a dome because you can't have gas pressure without a container, which isn't necessarily true. But it's a good way or an easy way for them to force the topic of where basically there is a dome, to force the idea that there must be one, which doesn't really make sense. Why would you say dome? Like maybe there's a hard, fast barrier, as I posited on the phone with someone about this, where maybe it's just a big Tupperware container, 2,000 miles up. Like it doesn't matter what it is. But if you say it's a dome and you insist on that being your main proof that we can't be a ball in space, then you're misdirecting the argument, because a dome presumes a border. A dome is curved, and they're not saying flat. So you get them to talk about it, and they'll concede, okay, well, maybe it's not a curved dome, because you're making the same mistake the globies are if you're saying that there's a curve to the sky that you can't prove, and you're asking them to prove the curve of the Earth. So they have a bit of a point there. So I made this caller concede that, okay, maybe it's just a hard barrier on top. Maybe it's not curved. And so I asked him, what's at the edge? He says, I've never thought about it. I'm like, wait, you're a flat earther and you have not given any thought to what's at the edge? Wouldn't that be your number one question? And you know what's funny about it? Flat earthers are taught by the more popular channels to laugh at that question. They're saying, oh, if somebody asks you where the edge is, they're just making fun of you. Don't answer. No, you should answer. You should say, I don't freaking know. What do I do? I'm pushing an idea as truth, and I don't have all the information to validate it. Now, the same can be said for the globe, which is why I'm saying here we're kind of in a gray area. Well, not even a gray area. It's not like we're fence squatting. This is another false thing. The debate, flat versus round, is a false debate. It's not really what it is. It's really about open versus closed, and it's about our relationship to media and the priesthood and how we get our worldview. The flat versus round debate puts the false dichotomy in place where you've got to be a fence squatter. You've got to, if you're not on either side, meaning you're eventually going to choose a side. Well, maybe I'm not going to choose a side, because on one side you have a flat enclosed dome. On the other, you have a round enclosed ball. Maybe there's a third alternative that they're not talking about. Maybe there's more land. Maybe the dome isn't a dome. Maybe the sky is a hard shell, but maybe it's flat. Anyway, the meme has been pushed. No pressure without a container, because it's a way for them to bring up the dome without referencing the Bible. You see, they use the Bible to say there's a dome. But the non-Bible pushing flat earth channels, like Oakley, they don't want to say, well, the Bible says dome, because they sound crazy like Nathan Thompson. So what they do instead is they say, you can't have pressure system without a container. Again and again and again is what they'll say. Now listen to this. Oakley won't talk models or dome, but he will say no gas pressure without a container for 500 hours. Seems that these people are paid trolls, and it causes most people to assume flat Earth has a dome over it. Exactly. Why do people believe there's a dome? Because that meme is being pushed. I just got a link from a commenter about Tom Hanks. How old is this person? You're making some connections, and it looks very close. He's making some connections between Tom Hanks and Michael Rockefeller. Interesting. By the way, I no longer look at Dallas Goldbug as a source. He doesn't talk about silicone masks. Okay, no, you're way off with this one. I'm sorry. Disinformation. That's why I checked into it, though. Look, just because people have physical resemblances, that's not enough. There has to be other things that line up. And that person there, the decades, the ages don't line up. I mean, come on. You have to have some discernment here. Okay, so I'm checking out what it looks like when I'm live on Float, just to get an idea. Thanks to all of you who have joined in. I see Tim Truth is the one who actually let me know this morning that I got banned. So what do we have here? This is basically a replacement for YouTube in terms of live streaming, and it's getting better. It'll be improving all the time. It's brand new. You're on the ground zero of this thing. You're some of the initial, I don't know, floaters. We all float here. I mean, I don't know if it's floaters or float appers. I imagine it'd be floaters. But in addition to video, of course, it is a replacement for Twitter as far as microblogging. And that's how I've been using it. So if you follow me here, you can get there by InfinitePlaneRadio.Live. Even when I'm not live streaming here, I'm going to upload my content, my archives, and I'm also going to be using this to replace Twitter. So if you take a look here, I've just posted this picture of the Fire Susan Wojcicki. I mean, this is such a disgrace. Anyway, I actually posted here. I actually signed it. So she can know I signed it. I actually want to email that to her. I happily signed it. I might even print this out and put it on my wall, because this morning at 6:43, they deleted a channel of mine with 60 videos, and they didn't tell me which video offended them. Anyway, if you go over to the page, it's just like a Twitter feed. It's a blog feed, a microblog feed, and I keep everything up to date. I mean, look at this. I posted this video last night, 16 hours ago. Take a look at it. No longer available because the account has been closed. And not only did they close that account, but they closed about 24 accounts because I had a whole bunch of sock accounts. Backup accounts that I would this is what I generally do is I store a lot of videos. You know how it works. So if you want notifications for DLive, get the app. Same with these other things. And so here's what I've done to kind of bypass all the confusion. If you go to Infinite Plane Radio, Infinite Plane Society, any of my sites, I've actually embedded my live stream there through Restream. So wherever you are, you'll be able to see it live. And also, if I'm not live, it'll have little icons for you to push to decide where you want to go. So my point is, this isn't going to really influence anything. It's not going to slow down our progress here. And then finally, if you've noticed, if you're watching the live stream, I am putting your chats on the screen. And I'm following the chats from all platforms. So wherever you're listening from, we've got 6 different channels right now, from Twitter, DLive, Float, YouTube, and I think we have one on Twitch, but whatever. I'm going to definitely be responding to all comments. Okay, Mad Mike Hughes made the news today, and he just called me yesterday, and I actually had to go follow up with some things, but... Oh, nice. Fox News said, it's okay to have your opinion just offline and not at work. Top 20 productions. Yeah, you know, look, I remember at one point Fox News used to pretend to care about free speech, and you know what got me was Greg Gutfeld. Greg Gutless, man, he had said, anybody who doesn't believe that this event happened as reported, and he was talking about the shooting in Connecticut, he said, I will punch you in the face. So I sent him a tweet, and I said, hey, Greg, I don't think anybody happened like the way it was reported. I thought you stood for free speech. Do you want to punch me in the face? And you know what he did? He blocked me on Twitter. A Fox News pundit took 30 seconds. You know, that's all. He read it directly on his phone. He went right to my account and he deleted me. And I was like, well, I thought you were against Twitter shadow banning and censoring people, Mr. Gutfeld. I thought you were for the free speech in principle being practiced on these big sites, and boom, he censored me. And if he hadn't censored me, if he had responded, maybe something could have come out of it, because he did threaten physical violence. I'm like, okay, well, there are people who might want to punch you in the face, Greg, because you don't believe in climate change. There are people who want to punch you in the face, Greg, because you don't think that we ought to give up our guns. So if you want to make violence the standard when you disagree with people, if you want to accept logical fallacies and violence, you're entering a different world, and that's where we're headed. Okay, so here we go. Mad Mike Hughes is a flat earther who built his own rocket. He's successful. This is an article called "The 7 Most Dangerous Stunts." He completed an 1,875-foot jump in 2018 by launching himself off the back of a mobile home. He's a bit of a character who funds his stunts with money from a casual dating and hookup site called HUD. He considers himself an amateur astronaut and is hoping to reach the edge of space with a homemade rocket. He's going to go a lot further. He's going to need to reach 327,000 feet to make his goal. So again, this is a stunt. It's a site called odde.com, and it's just going through the 7 most dangerous stunts ever attempted. And yes, the homemade rocket, the one that he's going to go to space in, it's actually already been built. And I wouldn't call that one a homemade rocket. It's actually a capsule with the rocket on top, and it's built in to accommodate a 400-foot diameter balloon to pull it up 20 miles. So it's a raccoon. So I need to find out, what did I say specifically that got me deleted from YouTube, so we can put that on a billboard. Let's find out, what did I say? What was the most triggering thing? What caused Susan Wojcicki to lose her crap? And let's put that on a billboard. It says, if you want to appeal the suspension, please submit this form. I submit the form, and it's basically, you've been kicked out, haha. Like, that's nice. You kind of tease it out there that we can maybe have some hope, and you go to the complaint department and the door's closed. Okay, so I'm going to be back live to take calls a little bit later. Still going through to figure out what did I do to get them so triggered, and I'm wondering how widespread it is. And look, I don't wish this on my enemies, even though they may wish it on me. I may even have been put under the radar because of people who don't like my channel. But when people don't like what I do, they ought to criticize it on their channels and get hits. You can get a lot of traffic by criticizing people because their people want to hear what you have to say. So that should be your go-to response. How do we get a dialogue going? It shouldn't be, let's burn down the libraries. Not a good precedent to set. So I'll be back soon. If you want to, you know what, BD, it could be that government murderer caller. I had some caller who told me that he was a contract killer for the government. Could have been the guy who was obsessed with blocking circumcisions, but he wasn't against abortion. Could have been any number of these callers who seemed very fishy. And I wondered about this. Do we have callers who are calling in to say things to get me flagged? And second point is, do we care? And the answer is no. We're not changing our pace or anything. So if you don't want to miss any of the upcoming live streams, you will want to get on one of these platforms. I'd say float. Just go to InfinitePlaneRadio.Live and follow me at the blog feed there. I'll be posting there periodically throughout the day. And then all those of you who are supporting me on Patreon, of course, you get the email notifications. So I'll see you all later. I'll be back. Thanks for your support. And thanks, Tim, for letting me know. And look, hey, this is an example of why it's important to network. Tim Truth is the one who started agitating a couple weeks ago. Get into library, get onto float. They're going to screw you over. And look what's happened. So he may not have been right about Seattle getting nuked, but he was right about YouTube nuking us.